could be making a lot of money. You could be looked up to even as a doctor, but still dealing with annoying patients, bureaucracy, tons and tons of paperwork, insurance companies that they're asking you, why did you prescribe this and not this? And why didn't you push this pill? And you didn't hit your mark.
I think about a reality that's not available to me because I was born into a certain background, social class that is never going to achieve anything in his life. The most he can do is maybe win the lottery, inherit a good fortune from a long lost relative. Wealth and success doesn't happen to people like me.
Surgeons are going to be replaced by machines that can do a better job than them. In the end, real creativity is something that AI will never be able to replace.
Simon, I want to ask you a question. How does it feel to not be going anywhere in life? You're working in a 9-to-5 job where you're not respected. You're not paid very well. You're surrounded by people who aren't really aware of themselves. They don't look happy. They're embracing a lot of bad habits. You're getting given all the terrible shifts. You're finishing at 10 p.m. every night, coming home, and then they want you to get up early in the morning for your next shift. You come home, you're exhausted. How does it feel to not be respected by most people? To not have a clear sense of purpose or direction in your life? How does that feel?
Oh, man. Trying to think of the last time I actually felt that way. It's been a long time, but you don't make it sound very fun. You make it sound like they don't even consider you as a human, like you're more like a work animal, like a donkey. And it's just not a very positive environment where people just go there out of necessity because they have no other choice. With that, I know what it feels like to struggle and to not get paid a lot for what you're doing. But the part about not being respected and not being valued, it's been a long time. It's honestly been a long time since I've been in that environment because I've been creating my own businesses. And of course, you get that also there, but on a different scale. You're not dependent. And like everything I did was my choice. I didn't feel like a victim. I didn't feel like I had to do it. I wanted to do it. It was my stepping stones in it, my steps into the life I wanted and the life I wanted to create. So yeah, you can tell me how does it make you feel to be in that kind of environment?
It made me feel trapped. I didn't feel good. I didn't feel inspired. I was exhausted. I always felt like I could do more, I could be more, but I had no idea. It wasn't good.
Let me ask you a different question outside this perspective, because you're describing minimum wage 9 to 5, right? But you don't
Yeah.
have to be a minimum wage employee to feel like your life isn't purposeful. You could be making a lot of money. You could be looked up to even as a doctor, for example, but still dealing with some bullshit problems like, I don't know, annoying patients that are overbearing, are needy, are like inventing diseases, bureaucracy, pay like tons and tons and tons of paperwork, which is just boring as hell. And then bureaucracy of hospitals, of insurance companies that they're asking you, why did you prescribe this and not this? And why didn't you push this pill? And you didn't hit your mark, and all those things. So you could be, and then when you leave the office, like you're drained, and people look up to you and they're like, wow, you're a doctor. Isn't that amazing? But inside you, no. That can also be possible. Why? Because most our society is just not encouraging us to discover who we really are, and it's often, more often than not, putting us like in misaligned, misplaced situations. So if you were, I'm going to use a really harsh word, scammed into believing that you were going to be happy if you just educate yourself through the system, like, study for 5, 10 years, and then you get a job in that area, and somehow magically you will feel fulfilled. That's not true. That's against what is true, which I think we can discuss, because our good friend Hamilton asked us, what is purpose? And how do I discover my purpose? And what I did was I broke it down into very simple steps. Um, I also have a story and some analogies to help people understand what is it purpose. What is a life purpose? It's because um, it sounds like a scam. Also, it sounds like woo. So when you hear some coach online talking about life purpose, what comes to your mind?
I think about a reality that's not available to me because I was born into a certain background, certain social class that is never going to achieve anything in his life. The most he can do is maybe get lucky, maybe win the lottery, maybe he'll inherit a good fortune from a long lost relative or something. Wealth and success doesn't happen to people like me.
Have you ever seen the movie Ants? I think it's called Ants, where there's this ant that he's different than everyone else, and in the end he marries the princess, something like that.
It sounds familiar.
It's an animation. It's a really old movie that it was like, I saw it as a kid. There's some horrific violence in there, because he's a worker ant. His job is to work and to dig, right? That kind
Hmm.
of sounds like, what you're describing, that you were born into a certain class, and in the movie, all the ants, they're like picking at the walls, and moving rocks and working hard, but they are the workers. They are the weak ones. And then there's another class, the warrior ants. They're all buff, huge, real strong, and their mindset is like of a killer, like to take orders, to defend the colony, the nest. And they go out. There's the scene where they like the worker ant. I don't remember the story exactly, but he's like, fuck this. I don't want. I'm not like everybody else. I was born into the worker class, but I want to do something else. So he joins the fighters, and like on his first day, they go out to war, and they go and they fight the termites. And man, that's he makes friends with one of the guys, and the guy dies, but he he dies. He is decapitated, but he's still alive, because ants, I don't know, they can do that. So he's holding his friend's head that's still alive. It's really horrific. It's not for kids, but I mean, it was meant for kids. But anyway, the gist of that is that it was coming up to me because, like, you're describing fate, and I think
Hmm.
that, like, 200 or 300 years ago, you were low class, and there was or autocracy, right? And if you weren't aristocratic, then you were just a peasant. You were just a normal person, and that's because in the past we had like these different classes that were so different, because lower classes didn't even know how to read. But the difference today is, this is my point, is that today we have access to all the information that ever existed at the tips of our on our fingertips, right? Available to us, and it's cheap. We know how to read, we know how to write, we're not dependent on the king or the church or anybody, and we can do whatever our mind wants to do. So yeah, man, I resonate with that. And I think that a lot of people in the self-development industry, they mix and match ideas about purpose, but I want to make it a bit clear today and just explain a little bit about how I see purpose, where do I get my information from, and some steps that I broke down. Before that, I'm wondering, like, what are you asking yourself, if anything? Because I have all the information, right? But I don't want to just talk for an hour and a half now. So um, what are some questions you have about purpose, or things that your experience with purpose?
How do you know your purpose?
Do you know your purpose? Okay. What's your purpose?
My purpose is to make a difference in the world.
So,
Over the past
yeah,
two
go ahead.
years, been building up a very big platform, and at the time, I didn't really know where I was going with that. But recently, I've realized the potential of it and why I have this in my life. I can achieve great things, change a lot of lives, and that really means something to me. And it's something that I'm passionate about and that I love doing. And to me, that's what purpose is, meaning.
Yeah, totally agree, man. And you're taking huge steps all the time. And before we actually take these steps and we feel what it feels like to be on purpose and to take these steps, then anybody would be skeptical, because it's like, it sounds like this magical thing. But I've broken it down to help people understand what actually is purpose. And there are a few things here that are mixed, and I want to separate and organize. There's life purpose, and there's this term called mastery. There are many books about mastery. There are many books about purpose. I recommend George Leonard. Robert Greene has an amazing book called Mastery. And Joseph Campbell has some great books about purpose, also The Way of the Superior Man. Just some resources for anybody who's interested. But the way Joseph Campbell describes your life purpose, he describes it as it's like a hidden treasure that's within you. And it's not about being great at math or being a genius and having tons of money. It's about what lights you inside. But society has taken money and like being book smart and school smart as if that's the best way. So that discourages a lot of people who are highly creative. That discourages people who are artistic and they want to and they need to express themselves in different ways. And there are many ways to make a lot of money and be very successful. And also there's this illusion that if you somehow become educated and study in university, then that's going to give you safety for the rest of your life. While I think that in 10 to 15 years, like, surgeons are going to be replaced by machines that can do a better job than them. And in the end, real creativity is something that AI will never be able to replace, for example. So all the engineers, they could pretty much kiss their jobs goodbye in their careers. Doctors, surgeons, you name it. Like all these people who are highly detailed, highly specialized in these things. That's the easiest thing that AI can replace. Those are the first things to go. So their job really isn't that secure. Not anymore, because the world is changing. We can't live in the past.
So, my question to you is, how would we then tap into that more creative side and become a man of purpose who cannot be replaced by?
So the way to tap into that is to become the absolute best, achieving what is coined in the book Mastery by George Leonard, and also by Robert Greene. Become a master of it, which some say it takes 10,000 hours of doing the same thing repeatedly. That's about 7 years of doing something for 4 to 8 hours a day, where you achieve mastery. And why does that guarantee that you will never be replaced? It's because when you are a master of something, that means that thing is fully aligned with you and your life, then you are continuously learning and innovating. So that's something that AI will not do by itself. AI is based on information that is already present. But if you are growing something and innovating because you are a master, then then you enhance the whole field. So, for example, um, who's a who's a an amazing artist that you know? It could be music, photography, I don't care what art, what medium. Who is an amazing artist that changed the genre, that changed it?
That's a good question. I would say for me, it'd probably be Black Sabbath
Okay.
because at the time there were no other bands around that really captured what they were able to capture with their style of music.
So they're like the origins of metal in some way, right? Because that didn't even exist. There was rock that was an offshoot of blues, that was an offshoot of soul music and church music, right? So you see there's like a direct relationship between these styles, and all you need is somebody to come, use their experience and their passion, and innovate and create something new that actually people want and resonate with, and boom, you're at the top of your field. It does take years to master. So Black Sabbath needed probably the creative power of a few talented guys to come together and innovate and create something. But that's what they did. They changed the genre forever. So Elon Musk, he's just innovating all the time. Why? Because he's been doing business and technology for all his life. That's, I don't know, 40 years now. And he's boom, boom, innovating, innovating, innovating. So like anybody that's ever pretty much succeeded in something, they innovated in some way, right? Me as a coach, I can try to copy Tony Robbins, but I'll never be him. And I can only develop my own style, which I have been doing by continuously working at my purpose. So that's mastery. You become so good at something that eventually you enhance and create your own style, your own unique thing based on your experience, and nobody can ever copy that. They can try to, and they can build off your experience and your discoveries. And we have to acknowledge and understand that all of us are standing on the shoulders of giants in any field that we're doing. Like we have the life that we have today because of all the people that were masters and built our culture, our technology, our way of life, our ways of thinking. So yeah, does that help?
It makes a lot of sense, yeah. I guess, like speaking from my own experience recently, one thing you mentioned to me the other day was if you want to get good at something and it's something that you're passionate about, think of the top 3 people who are masters in that field, who inspire you, who are outperforming everyone else by miles, and try to break down every little thing that they're doing and understand how they do it. And then it's a matter of getting that and then mixing that with your own like perspective, your own authenticity, knowledge and everything like that, and become the exception almost.
Yeah, man. So that's the training wheels. And you can look at these people that are already masters and you can model them and learn a lot from them. And that's great for the beginning. And the mistake that most people do is they start and they want to be like at the top of and to be an innovator, right? Well, you're not going to do that because innovation, or true innovation, cannot be copied. This is the height of human intelligence, the true intelligence, not just calculating numbers like that. That's not the only definition of genius. That's some people who just fucking love numbers and their mind is primed for that. Yeah, good for them. They can calculate what's a billion times the square root of 75 in 2 seconds. Cool party trick, but like you don't really matter unless you innovate something. And I think men have a need to innovate and to create things because we can't give birth to kids. We can help, but we're not the one. But that's why men have a need to create, because they can't create life, so they have this need to build stuff, to innovate. That's our nature. We have to embrace it.
It's interesting as well because thinking about the group and how it's like become so big. It's become big because I've innovated in a sense. I've created something that wasn't previously available before in the men's spaces. We most of the Facebook groups, especially in the self-improvement realm, are not community based. They're not a place where you can really share deep thoughts and feelings about your situation, where you can get advice from other men, and they're not centered on like a healthy masculine perspective. All these other groups are about blaming and playing the victim, as I'm sure you know. It's all these like red pill centered groups. We've
Yeah.
provided something different that obviously a lot of people resonate with, and that's how we've innovated.
Yeah. So you made me think of something really important because, of course, yeah, that's how you set yourself apart from everybody else. But also, you don't want to invent the wheel every single time. You don't want to
Mm.
overcomplicate. So you need a balance between what works, what's
Mm.
established, what people resonate with, and you need to take that and make it into something that's good, that stands out.
Mm.
Because guys can get totally lost in life just trying to overcomplicate and reinvent everything, and then I'm laughing because I can't really describe it, but I've known a lot of guys that they just end up with these weird things that nobody really nobody asked for, nobody wants, and yeah.
Mm.
um, Now, I wanted to share the story of Mozart. He's a character that I use a lot to explain this. So Mozart, he's considered like one of the most easily identified child geniuses and a prodigy. And like everybody wants their child to be like Mozart. And I live in Asia, so they have these special private schools for kids where they're called like baby genius, and they teach their kids music and they teach their kids this, and it's mostly for the parents to feel proud. Look at my son, he can recital and this and that. And it's more for their ego. It's not really enhancing the and embracing the creativity of the child, which is what happened pretty much by chance to Mozart. So what happened to him was his father was already an established musician and teacher, and he started giving Mozart piano lessons at age 4. And what happened was that Mozart loved the piano so much that the story goes that they couldn't remove him from the piano. He would just play 10, 12 hours every single day. And when they took him away from the piano at night, he would cry and he would want to play. And you understand? He just wanted to do it so much. It was so stimulating and so uh, uh, so I don't know the word, enlightening, so fun. So he just loved it so much, and he was so aligned with it that his mind couldn't stop thinking about it. And what happens when you do something from the age of 3 until the age of 10 for 10 hours every single day? You become a master, even if you're 10 years old. So by you just practice right? It's not that it is, there's a natural inclination of each of us to do something. And if we catch that thing, that's the purpose, and we do it for years and years, and we become very, very effective at it, then we become a master. So the difference between purpose is the journey and what we love doing, and mastery is what happens after we do that purpose for a good amount of time, and that skyrockets your success. So, in short, what happened to Mozart is that he discovered his life purpose, which was music, that was, for whatever reason, aligned with his mind and his skills, and he loved doing it, and he did it. And he became really, really good. So good that he was inspiring people. And then he discovered, if you saw the movie Amadeus, his true purpose was not playing music, although he loved that too. He loved composing. So he discovered that, and today we're not really encouraged. We're encouraged to like fit into these cookie cutter roles that serve people, companies, governments, whatever, and they're not aligned with who we really are. We don't work on enhancing who we really are. It's a big so here's a simple process to help you discover your purpose, Hamilton. This is for you. Very easy, very simple, easily said than done. That's why I work with people to do this and find each and every one of these. But number one is assess your weakness, know where you need to improve in life. Assess your strength. That's number two. Identify what you're naturally good at. That's your natural inclination, what you love doing. Three is determine the processing method that your mind uses. So that's VACOG, as you know. Are you visual? Are you auditory? Are you more detail oriented? Are you big picture? That will help you understand how you love doing whatever you're doing. Number four is find your core values. What matters to you? Are you all about knowledge like me? I just love learning. Are you all about self-discovery or freedom, or are you all about truth? So everybody has a different set of core values. Your life purpose will align with them perfectly. Identify your beliefs. That's just some inner work that we need to do to understand, also to help us. It could be useful. Then after you know those things, you can research the market, like what it actually needs. So I was a coach, for example, and eventually I found nice guy syndrome, and I found that that's an issue that a lot of men struggle with, and it's totally aligned with me and my values. So I wanted to fix that. Just an example. You need to look at what people will be willing to pay a lot of money to solve. That's how you make a business and a purpose out of what you love doing. You can study successful people to learn how they reach their success, read their autobiographies, break them down, model them, analyze trends, what's happening in the market, and commit to mastery. So that means that you commit, this is a big long-term goal. You're going to be doing this for the next 5 to 10 to 20 years even. That's the short answer to how you actually find your purpose. So Josh, does that make sense to you, the process that I laid down, and do you understand why it takes me a lot of time to work with somebody through it? You can do it by yourself. You can read all these books by Joseph Campbell, by Robert Greene, amazing books. But to sit down and do the work, that's probably not within your area of genius. Another amazing book is The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, that talks about breaking through glass ceilings and uncovering your zone of genius and doing that. Doing the processing, that's what I'm good at. But if somebody is, say, very good at, like they're the best architect in the world, right? They have elements of physics, they have elements of math, they have elements of art and creativity and a visual sense, most likely. But they're not gonna be good at thinking outside the box and looking at somebody's life. But does the process that I laid down, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I think it's It's pretty clear, and I think anyone who is watching this right now would have a pretty basic understanding of what to do and how we do it.
Well, if anybody's watching this and they want to take a step further, I have a free worksheet that I can give you. Just comment below, let us know, and we'll send you the worksheet to help you assess your own um, life purpose. And also, you can join Men of Freedom, where you can post your results, talk about it with a bunch of dudes that are on the same goal to become free, independent, powerful men. I think that's a great combination to get that support and get that self assessment